Here on this DeBacco University video, we're going to be looking at some planting specifics stated for cannabis, particularly autoflowers planted outdoors, to give you some guidelines or some direction if you're looking at planting outdoors. If you wanted to know some specifics about planting autoflower cannabis outdoors, this is the video for you. Now, autoflower clones, keep in mind, as a reminder, that since autoflowers are based on days old, there are no clones available, so growers must use seeds. So if you have autoflower clones, probably not going to be the best thing. If you're looking at planting autoflowers in particular, you definitely want to focus on the seeds. When it comes to seeds, I would advise feminized seed. Because while the field should still be scouted for male plants, starting with feminized seeds will help vastly reduce the number of male plants to reduce the amount of wasted time on these plants that are not going to produce your end desired product. If non-feminized or dioecious seed is used, more than 50% of the plant started with can be male, reducing field densities by half. So ideally be a 50-50 split male to females, but that's really going to basically cut your field in half while still keeping your area and expenses at full. So how long from the seed or seedlings to harvest? This can be variety dependent, but be sure to check with the specific type that you're planting. However, the typical range for autoflowers, to give you an idea, would be 68 to 95 days, with 75 days being the average. Again, check with the specific purchase seeds that you have. Check with whoever's supplying you the seeds to get an idea of the duration of time. Because remember, autoflowers, again, will not be dependent on photo period. Simple days can be counted. So how many plants per acre? Well, in typical plant densities are about 11,000 to 18,000 plants per acre, just to give you a general idea for these autoflowers, and to give you some just kind of idea what a size of an acre is. It's about 60% of a soccer field here, or about 16 tennis courts in area. So what's the suggested plant spacing when we're looking at autoflowers? Well, the plant spacing, here we can see some different scenarios provided. If planting in rows, this would equate to about 222 plants in a 100 feet by 5 foot bed. If you're using one row on a 30-inch bed, 3 rows on a 60-inch bed, or 2 rows on a 60-inch bed, this can give you an idea, again, of the plants per acre that you'll be looking at. This is important to know because this is going to depend how many seeds you're going to be looking at purchasing and kind of the area or plant matter that you're going to be producing in the end. And in the 12 inches apart in a row, 16 or 18 inches apart, you could see how that's going to vary the amount of plants you're going to have per acre. Now, autoflowers, as a reminder, again, are not photoperiod dependent. Since autoflowers will flower based on days old, this can offer growers some more flexibility when it comes to planting date. However, the climate and frost-free days should be the driving force when it comes to selecting your growing season. You want to try to maximize the best growing days, even if it's not looking at the longest necessarily, or transition from longest to shorter days of the year. In general, autoflowers will produce smaller plants and typically smaller yield. However, they make up for this with growing very quickly. However, they cannot be cloned. They do not require pruning or training, so that can be a labor savings, and they're thought to be more resilient to stressful growing conditions, even though that could be kind of variety dependent there. But that smaller plants with their quicker turnaround time. So in areas with a longer growing season, this may afford growers the ability to grow two plant cycles. Though most of the time for outdoor growing, you're looking at one growing cycle, particularly in areas that have colder climates, so be sure you're timing that well. We're looking at flower biomass. How much yield are we going to get? Well, in general, flower biomass based on categories. The average would be about that 2,150 pounds to the acre, and then below average and above average is information given there. If you're wondering about where to get some more information or where do these numbers came from, in the description you'll see a link to the sources that you're welcome to go investigate further, but hopefully this will provide you with a starting point for at least autoflowers to give you some sense of what you should be looking at if you're looking at outdoor field planting of autoflowers.